Hello again. Back so soon. Um, yeah, I just woke up this morning, like maybe an hour and a half ago, and Rudy uploaded a video, and I listened to it, and I didn't feel like writing in text a response to the stuff, so I just said, fuck it. I'll just, I'll just upload a shitty reaction video to it kind of thing. Um, my nose is just a little bit runny, I guess, so I might be making some disgusting noises besides my talking, so apologies for that in advance. Um, yeah, pretty weird weather outside today. It's like super humid out, but it's also pretty warm, like warm and humid. Uh, yeah, very weird for basically the middle of November. That's for sure. Uh, but I guess let's just listen to or at least I'm just gonna be like skipping through the topics probably, but responding to them the best my memory can recall from just watching it. Um, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. By the way, Rudy, if you didn't know, not that it really fucking matters, if you just type when you put timestamps like this, if just above the if if in a line just above the timestamps you put like chapters and then what do they call that? The two dots, whatever the fuck that's called, like a hyphen, whatever. Then it makes it so YouTube puts those little like timestamps on the time bar. Not that it matters, really. It's just kind of like a nice little thing. I don't know why I do the timestamps. It's just something I always kind of did when I started making videos, especially ones where they're pretty long. And I figure since the feature exists, what the fuck? It's one of those. It's one of those probably few like decent features that YouTube added at some point instead of just making it worse and worse. Uh, um, yeah, because I usually before uploading I just listen to my video and then as I'm going on I listen and then I'm like, all right, when does the next topic happen? And then I just put a timestamp or whatever. That's usually what I do. It's not a big deal to me. I just kind of like doing it for whatever reason. Uh, yeah. What was this first part? Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. This intro. I know you used it in like one other video at least, where it's like a guy who looks like fucking Jesus with a cat, and then you got this other weird shit. Um, where the hell did you get that from? Or is this just like a weird compilation of like AI generated video clips or something? Because I'm like, where the fuck would that ever be seen? Like the cats on these weird like donut things. Like to me that just screams right away like AI generated or some shit. Kind of interesting intro, that's for sure. Similar to Matt's recent fish in a barrel or whatever the fish in a barrel reality show or whatever. I mean, maybe it's not an AI generated, maybe, but it really screams it to me.
And often you say you can let go of that just like that. And often when you've said it, I said it's not that easy. But then even this week and these past weeks, there's different things that, you know, trigger some kind of battle in my mind about something. And it creates maybe anxiety, or there is like a work conversation or a negotiation about a contract. And it creates all these emotions of, and I feel anxiety today. I was like, I'll work on it tomorrow because I'm not in that emotional space right now. And I was like, actually, all is well. Like,
All is
yeah.
really well. All is well. But up here you think it's not because you listen to evil and you calling it good. All really is well, especially for the children of God. Those who've truly been born again of the Father by forgiving.
And it's amazing. Just like, I was sitting here, just also there was something that's been bothering in the back, and I just felt myself relax into and be like, all is well, and just like, it's fine. And then, other than that, what I've been thinking about, that's coming back to what we're talking about now, being in a relationship, I see so clearly this between the man and the woman. It's like the relationship between the father and the daughter, and
Yeah.
the mother and the son. And I feel how I become the mother to the son, and vice versa. And it's just
Absolutely.
amazing. And I see myself becoming my own mother at times, and I'm like, oh God, what is happening? And
Well, all
it's
you
wild.
need to do is see it and do nothing about it. Just see it. Do not change it. Don't reach out to something to make a change. You just see it, and seeing it is changing it because you're seeing by the light of God. Do not do.
Yeah, maybe in that one video where he just mentioned that where the seeing it is changing it kind of shit. But what was it when I was talking about seeing my dad uh showing signs of like I don't know, similar to like where his dad died in the position that he was in and stuff, like with the coughing and the shit like that. And then me seeing myself almost seeing that kind of cycle repeating, uh where I kind of just see my dad like been recently having like I don't know, like what the hell's the word? Chronic COPD or whatever, that yeah, CO, that kind of shit, like the coughing and stuff. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, I'll probably be in the opposite position where I'll be seeing him in that position at some point and noticing that. But at the same time, I don't see myself reenacting like the exact same thing. But I could see the pattern of my grandfather and my grandmother, and then my dad being their son. I could see myself seeing that cycle again, where my dad is like my grandfather and my mom is like the grandmother and all that stuff. So and me being the son, so I could see that shit repeating. Um, and kind of, I guess, as Jesse said, not necessarily acting upon it to change it, but just kind of noticing it is, I guess, the most important part, at least in from what he's saying. Not that I felt that I needed to change it or anything, but just kind of like a note about that. And this lady's talking about that where the son becomes the father becomes the son to the wife, kind of shit, like following them around. At least that's not what she talked about, but that's kind of what I envision seeing that. I think the more important part I wanted to look at was the wicked mother and grandmother collaborate for evil. Um, and that does remind me of, obviously, my mother and her grandmother, and my mother and my grandmother on her side, her mother. Um, and she would when this fucking bitch was alive, my grandmother, she did do shit like that. As this guy is kind of like describing in the in Jesse's video, the guy is describing that his wife, or I guess mostly his grandmother, but also his wife, are kind of like collaborating to try and influence his daughter away from being with him as much, or agreeing with him as much, or whatever, that kind of thing. They're trying to sway their influence with manipulation and shit. And not that, like, that's the thing, is like my grandmother didn't really seem to give that much of a shit. I mean, she didn't give a shit about anybody, even herself. So I don't think she really gave a shit about the kids at all in terms of trying to influence them. But you know, they obviously love manipulation as all these fucking terrible people do. But she wasn't very good at it, I would guess. But she did do shit like that. I think mostly to manipulate my mother, I guess, like, you know, but the grandmother manipulating the mother, and then through her manipulating the other parts of the family kind of shit. um and yeah, I'll say that my dad both failed and succeeded at preventing that, defending the children in a way. Like, he both failed and succeeded. Like, in the end, with some of the more ridiculous stuff with the grandmother, um, he would get her out of there. Like, but probably it took him way too long to finally start doing that. Like, he should have done that way earlier, obviously, but he didn't. Like, it took a lot longer than it should have to finally, like, basically say, like, you know, get the fuck out of here, kind of thing. Um, but I will say that I think my dad has failed on the mother part, defending the children against the mother's bullshit, because, you know, being uh excuse me, the happy wife happy life kind of thing. uh I think he failed at defending us against that kind of shit, where, like, she would act like that, like she would drag us around everywhere, uh and he wouldn't really question most of that stuff when it was going on. But he did, at the very least, with the grandmother, do that kind of stuff somewhat after a point. But most of the time, he was basically kind of just drug around in his own way, emasculated, that kind of shit. Uh, so I'd say that he mostly failed at that kind of defending the children against the craziness or the manipulation attempts of the mother and grandmother. That's where my own, which I guess, as he was saying, is that the child shouldn't be exposed to that evil alone or whatever. But, you know, I don't necessarily have much resentment about that. I'm just saying, as, like, a matter of fact, like, I think my dad did fail at, maybe he was okay at defending us against, like, certain outside things, certain things, like, here and there, but the ones that was right in front of him, his own wife, he failed spectacularly at protecting us from that craziness and that shit, and as well as training her to not give in to these evil, as Jesse was saying, and as you were saying, the evil urges, or the evil thoughts, the evil manipulation that the women are so um influenced by, involuntarily or voluntarily influenced by. Um, so at the end of the day, I had to go within myself to uh, deal with those things, and defend myself or whatever, my spirit, whatever, against that shit coming in. Uh, I think that was the main things I wanted to talk about that part. Just in relation to myself, I was thinking about while that part was going on. Um. Oh yeah, what was this?
Insane.
This part with the Gooners being the I didn't actually, I mean, I did know what the term Gooners meant, but I only knew about it because of, like, a few days ago or some shit. Weirdly enough, yeah, I don't know. Somebody mentioned the term Gooners, or like gooning or some shit, like maybe a week ago or 2 weeks, and I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I mean, I kind of, the way the context was given, I kind of knew what it was referring to, but I'm like, what is this new term? And then I looked it up. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's porn porn addicts, porn addicts and stuff. Uh, so yeah, I only recently kind of learned the 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 definition of that, and it only started really getting used recently. So it's like, what the fuck? Kind of a weird term, but you know, whatever not milk came up with that one, who knows? But yeah, I'd say the Gooners are definitely more disliked in many ways than like other things. Like he said, you know, criminals and all this bullshit. And as you say, it's because they're not giving attention to you know, quote unquote real women. And this has been going on for a while with guys that decide to like have waifus and bullshit like that, or I guess it's especially prevalent in Japan when they're talking about stuff like the holographic AI waifu thing and shit like that, and guy gets married to his waifu or Hatsune Miku or whatever shit like that. Um, so yeah, that could definitely be like seen that they are more hated than even like criminals or whatever you want to say, like people breaking laws and hurting people. These people that are really not hurting anybody but themselves are more hated by society than those that are actually actively hurting other people, kind of shit. Um, and yeah, you're right, but like about most most of these like people that are in that group or definition, they are just looking for uh they are looking for like the quote unquote American dream or whatever, the wife, maybe the kids, but mostly I think initially they mostly care about the wife, being able to take care of that wife, protect that wife, at least the idea of that. um but they've just decided, hey, fuck it, this society is not it's too difficult. The odds are too low for that to actually happen, so they just slink back into their comfortable fantasy world instead. Um, and you know what? Like I've had, I think as you said, Rudy, like I think all guys kind of have that thought at the very least that comes up in the back of their head about that stuff. And it's definitely come up for me a few times, just in idle times or whatever times of just nothing, me just being in my room and just thinking about things, like that kind of thing comes up. But I wouldn't consider myself in this Gooner group in that sense. But you know, but then I realized like how infeasible and ironically unrealistic that the fantasy of what we were told that we should go and do and be like a husband and stuff like that, especially nowadays or whatever, as time keeps going on, the odds of that are so unrealistically like low, and the expectations are so high that it is basically impossible or unattainable in many ways. Maybe not literally impossible, but it feels like it, and it's just like, you know what, it's fucking like not even worth it. So you're just like, hey, fuck it, just bail out of that mentality or system. Um, but yeah, I mean that's the thing. Is society hates anybody that is going against the programming. Obviously, that's kind of the point. It's like it's almost like a defense mechanism of like the body or something, like it attacking things that are different, that go against the bullshit societal programming. Um, Similar to like this neat lifestyle kind of thing that like I'm in, or like the neat thing, like neats. If you talk about like in a family get together or something, if you talk about somebody like not working or some shit like that, like it is in a similar way, it is like hated or attacked so much more than gone against, even than so many other things. Like if you say that you're not working, or that's like something that you don't have plans to be working or some shit like that, it's just you get fucking like dogpiled by people saying, you should do this, you should do that. Well, you can't just can't live like that your whole life, shit like that. So it's pretty similar that if you're going against society's prescribed things that it assumes that everybody should be doing, then you get attacked like a defense mechanism in the body or some shit. You get attacked. Um, and it's funny too with the traditional wives and families shit that the Gooners want. Like they could see how society is going too, and it, as they can see, at least from what comes into them, it becomes, as every day goes on, it becomes more and more unattainable, because then they see more and more women showing their true colors, and it's like this person is not what I would expect like a trad wife to be able to be. So they're like, yeah, they just see it as an even more impossible to attain goal. I think that's all I wanted to talk about on that one, even though that was a important part, I guess. Um, censorship in video games.
where sexy anime girls or sexy kind of drawings are getting censored in video games and TV shows and whatnot. I can give you an example real quick. So just to kind of something a little topical.
Yeah, like the censorship that's always been a thing, especially in the West, obviously. Um, yeah, you're not unaware of this, but they have so many games that get censored or neutered in even so many like little ways, either be it with the language or the writing or the themes. I mean, I think it's so absurd, even like in uh something like the Mother series, like Earthbound or Mother 1, or yeah, Mother 1 or Mother 2, that being Earthbound, and shit like that. Where just simple things like a lot of RPGs did this, where the battle sprites get censored, like the fucking the what's the crow, the like one of the first enemies you encounter in Earthbound, the one of the crows. Fucking its original sprite, it was like it had sunglasses and it was smoking a cigarette, or it had like a cigarette in its hand, or some shit like that. And then in the localized version or whatever, the ones that went out to the West, they took away the cigarette and shit. And it's just like, what the fuck? Same thing with like alcohols that get censored. Yeah, actually, it was in Earthbound too. They they had a bar in Fourside that was obviously a bar, but then they changed it to like a cafe or some bullshit. And then the people talking about being drunk, they changed the fucking the wording to be like that they were like having a caffeine high or some bullshit like that, instead of being drunk, or some stupid shit like that. Um, or just censoring the names of like stuff that is like alcohol. It's changed it to something else like juice, or it's nonsense like that. It's like, come the fuck on, man. That kind of censorship. But then you have the even more blatant kind of like visual censorship here with the female characters, sexualized characters, and trying to make them less sexualized. I mean, yeah, this example with this Dragon Quest, like, I don't know what the character's called, but like the Amazon warrior kind of wearing the bikini armor. I didn't even notice until you pointed it out, because I guess the flesh color kind of blended in. But I was like, oh, I didn't even notice that she had like those weird like flesh colored like underwear under the bikini armor or some shit. And then I was like, oh yeah, that is fucking stupid. But it's just like, who the fuck would even notice that if they were just like casually playing and just be like, oh man, I'm glad that they made that they did that they censored that or some shit. It's like, yeah, come on. But just the especially when you brought up stuff like that, what was it? Did you bring that up? Where the fuck was it? Or maybe you brought it up over here. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You brought it up over there, but with the Dustborn or whatever the fucking shit game, whatever the shit game that just released where everybody just looks like a fucking blob, an androgynous fucking blob, and it's like, goddamn. But you know, it is hilarious with the quote unquote ESG pushing and stuff in games, especially the game industry. Recently, that it's like it's so obvious that it's being pushed clearly, but then it's like, well, if you want to go by the economics argument, is that it's like these people aren't even necessarily doing it because of like their values, like their virtue signaling kind of shit. Like the studios, if they're going by the money, I know the money doesn't really matter, but if they're going by the money, just like when I worked at that place, L'Oreal, like they hired me not because of like my skill or whatever kind of shit. They hired me basically purely because I was currently a student at the college, at a college. And they had some program where they were getting a kickback, probably either like a tax write off or some shit, or even maybe even direct financing for having a student. Like even if I wasn't like actually physically there, I'm sure they still would have gotten just the fact that they could put that check mark and say, "Oh yeah, we got a student working here," kind of shit. That was the important part. Not anything about me, just the fact that I was a student. That check box. And they were getting some kind of monetary kickback or something that probably was even more than what my stupid like wage was, like salary or whatever you want, my wage. Uh so they were getting money directly from just that, from marking that checkbox. And it's the same thing with these fucking like ESG studios. They're getting like some fucking weird not milk monetary reimbursement or whatever you want to call it, incentives for having these fucking studios come in like Sweet Baby or whatever, Sweet Baby Inc. and shit, and changing all of this stuff to the themes of the game, the story of the game, the character designs, and all that's the art style and all that stuff to push this nonsense narrative or this nonsense shit where it's like, oh yeah, see, yeah, we totally like these fucking flamboyant soy boy looking ass men, quote unquote men. You can't even call them that. Just all these androgynous blob amoeba characters. You love the fucking woman that's like 6 feet tall and fucking like 10 feet wide, uh, and doesn't even, as you said, doesn't even have like like a notable silhouette besides being some kind of fucking amorphous blob. Um, Whereas, you know, in these other games, Dragon Quest, you could probably tell pretty quickly which character is which. Even though most of it's, you know, a lot of like sexy looking women and stuff, but and that's also what people like to look at. Like, you know, women, even women like to make sexy women when they play a character or whatever. They make a sexy woman. They don't purposely make these ugly characters. Or you got the Dragon Age game that just came out, that piece of shit, whatever it was called, where the character creator like makes it impossible the way that they look to not look like some ugly Pixar Shrek amalgamation. Like the men or the women, like you can't make it attractive looking character. Like their faces always look ugly and shit. And it's like nobody would ever actually want that, but it's all just pushed and pushed and pushed. Um, and I'm not even sure which is worse. Like either that, where they pushing it and kind of like ruining the game before it's even released, or the ones where that like this with the Dragon Quest where they censor stuff that was good and then try to make it bad, like almost a you know, as Matt would say, the purposeful destruction of these things. And almost like you could almost like think of the Mandela effect as well. Is like you'd be thinking, well, I don't remember that character looking like this. I don't remember them having like these weird underwear kind of shit. So it's like it's a mix all around. Like it's there to confuse and destroy and distort in all ways. As well as gaslight as well. But then you talked about at the end where there was the Nadia character from Bomberman Hero that I was fucking playing. And yeah, it didn't even phase me at the time because I remembered the character. But then I was like, yeah, that is fucking funny. Like 90s. For me, it was 2000s, early 2000s. I guess these games were mostly in the 90s, but I was still like a pretty young kid at the time, so I played a lot of these when they were already had been out probably for a little while at least. Um but more like, late 90s, early 2000s kid, I guess. Um, and yeah, you got this character designs from Breath of Fire that you said, and what was it? The oh, that was something I was going to talk about. Yeah, I might talk about that. The character designs, and yeah, they are like all like not like necessarily not okay. Those are the Bomberman girl shit, but they're all fairly unique and creative kind of designs, at least for the time. The DS or whatever that one, the Naga lady, the I guess you could say the older woman, like the MILF archetype, witch MILF archetype that is still around, and then you got this one, whatever that is, like the angel kind of girl with the wings and shit. Yeah, I was never into Breath of Fire myself. That was another thing I was gonna say. It's funny to see the evolution of these anime art styles when you go back to like the older more classic animes and stuff, like how the aesthetic has changed. Um, what I watched a video about some old PC Engine, like PC 88 game or some shit, like some really old like late 80s or early 80s, mid 80s RPG or something on the Japanese computers. And the anime aesthetic, it's funny how like kind of similar they all are, but then you look at the newer anime aesthetic and how it's become similar as well. Like, and I guess it depends on who you ask, which one was better, like the newer kind or the older kind, where I guess it's really up to preference there. Um, Me nowadays, I do definitely prefer the more hand drawn look. Uh, and I'm not a very like artistically minded person. Like I can't look at something and say like that's specifically good art or bad art or like looks fucked up or whatever, that kind of thing. I'm not like that great at defining that. But I can also say like, when some art is bad like this and some art is good like, this and stuff like that. Um but what was it? Yeah, I don't know why I thought about when you mentioned the design of that Naga witch character, and it made me think of Toho. And I was never like a Toho fan at all, but I knew about Toho like even years ago and stuff like that when just on the internet. It was always like an internet phenomenon kind of thing. But only recently, the past few years, when I started getting into the music and arranges and remixes of Toho songs and themes, is I started to like get more familiar with the Toho franchise and the characters and stuff like that. Whatever characters that are thrown up in each of the games, like brought up and stuff like that. And there were certain characters that, for whatever reason, I liked their designs. Yeah, like I don't even, just like most Toho fans, I don't actually I don't have plans and I don't like shoot 'em ups to play the games, but I like the character designs and I like the music. So that's my stuff that I like about Toho. Um but there's like I don't know why. There's a few specific character designs that I like, that I find appealing, compared to some of the others. Like this one from the original PC, Mima Ho Ho. I don't know why I like this design where it's like some fucking ghost lady and she has no legs. She's got like the fucking wispy, wispy like ghost tail. I don't know why I like that design. I think that's cool. Um, I don't know all their names by heart. I like this mouse girl, Nazrin or whatever. I don't know why I like this mouse girl. I guess I just it's a cute design. Fuck, what's this other one's name? Toho character. Oh God, fuck. By name. Shit. Oh, that's not gonna be all of them, but fucking recent one. It's a recent one. It's like this one that was made as a, I guess, parody or statement with like America and drilling oil or some bullshit like that. But I like her design a lot. I don't know why. She's like some kind of like goat demon character or some bullshit like that. Recent. Come the fuck on. You're really not gonna give me God. You got like 10 jillion quadrillion characters and you don't have to fucking have like a list of them with their names. Fucking hell. Most recent Toho games. Come the fuck on, dude. Oh, maybe this is. Oh, yeah, this might be it. Maybe. Sunken Fossil World Toho. Come on, you got characters? Yes, I think so. Characters. Which one is it? Aha, that one. I like I like this character design. I don't know why. Just this fucking goat girl with a fucking giant spork that drinks oil. Fucking or some fucking shit. Yeah, I don't know. I like it. It's cute and I like the kind of like evil vibes going on or whatever. Uh there's a good few other ones. I like Toho. It's hard not to like some of these designs, I guess. But yeah, I don't know why. Like that's just one of those things. That some of the designs, I don't know why I got into that. It just made me think about it. Some of those designs I find appealing compared to some others, I guess. Um, in that anime aesthetic. Oh yeah, the other thing with you mentioned I probably shouldn't look her up. Honestly, Bomberman. Because okay, yeah, let's hopefully it's nothing pornographic, but that character, I did look up some porn of her, and yeah, there, like I said, there's surprisingly little. Like, I guess it is a fairly not well-known character within these art communities or whatever, or just in general, because, or maybe just a lot of people didn't play Bomberman Hero or whatever, because I only saw like 40 results, and that was like on one of the more well-known like furry websites, porn websites and shit, and there was like 40 images, which is like to me that's like almost nothing for a character in Rule 34 and shit. So yeah, for whatever reason, she is not very well known in that sense, and I guess Bomberman Hero in general wasn't the biggest popular game or whatever, especially not Bomberman game. Um, but yeah, the
Now,
here let's
uh,
yeah, and
let's see here, the Japanese didn't give a shit about American feminist sensibilities because the soccer moms were.
Yeah, and they definitely don't. They didn't definitely didn't before, and they probably are more now. But still not, as you said, with the Bomber Girl game, where it's just some gotcha Gooner bait, basically. Uh, Designs where it's just all super sexualized fucking women. Oh yeah, that's one thing I was gonna say too, is that I wonder, is there what I never understood that kind of like fetish where guys, I guess it's the same thing where just the submissive kind of shit where these guys like the I guess the cucking thing, like these guys that enjoy the NTR, whatever it would be called in the Japanese stuff with the cucking and shit. What is with that? Like, I've learned in my time of gooning, um, if you want to call it that, um, I don't like these themes with women that are like whores or sluts or whatever. Like, I don't like that. But maybe that's just my insecurity shining through. Even though I can, but I much rather it be a more monogamous kind of thing where it's like what I don't even necessarily like the harem shit. Like, I think that's stupid. It's like, come the fuck on. Like it's so unbelievable. Like, oh, I know that's the idea is that it's a fantasy thing, but like, fucking, oh yeah, he got this one fucking schmuck dude, um, and like 8 women pining over him or whatever. It's like, come the fuck on. It's just it's so unrealistic that I can't even like believe it. It just takes you out of any like thing that you could like enjoy it or whatever. It's just silly. Um, but yeah, I much prefer like the idea of like one monogamous thing where instead of this fucking shit where it's like this one girl who just fucking fucks anything that moves. It's like I don't know. I just find that silly. Um, but yeah, now that I've made my response longer than the thing I'm responding to, just a feature of my channel and my videos, I guess. I think that's all I really wanted to talk about and respond with. Um, and I don't know if there'll be a response to a response to a response to a response, but hey, I just was lazy. I didn't feel like typing out my response, so here it is. But thanks for watching, and see you next time.